These two fonts made me over $50,000. It seems absolutely crazy, but by the end of this video, you'll see exactly what fonts they were and how I used them to generate this sort of income. There are millions and millions of fonts out there, and I don't know about you, but I'm always getting lost in it. And the font that you use in your design actually plays a really important role. Sure, you can go for a unique, random, fancy font to match the specific graphic that you've got for your design. And that's great, and those designs can do really well, but you can't do that every single time. It will be far too time consuming to come up with a brand new font or design a new font for every single one of your designs. What we want to do is create a design that we can scale to hundreds, if not thousands of designs without having to change the font. And that is exactly what I did. I created a design, which I'll share with you, and I was able to scale this design to over 100 designs, all from changing one word. It was the same font, it was the same design, the same colors. I just changed one word. And I'm going to show you exactly how you can do that too. Let's start with 4 key things that you have to consider when picking a font. 1. Readability. This is without a doubt the single most important element of fonts. How easy is it to read that font? And more specifically, how easy is it to read that font from a distance or from a small computer screen or a phone when someone is actually looking at your shop? Bold, well-spaced fonts are perfect here because no one will have to do a double take. They'll see it, they'll read it, they'll get it, and hopefully they'll buy it. That's kind of what we want our customer journey to be. See it, read it, like it, and then hopefully buy it. Number 2 is contrast. Expanding on the previous point, to help with readability and legibility, you want there to be a very obvious contrast with the font and the t-shirt color. A black t-shirt means white text, and a white t-shirt generally means black text. I try and avoid using colors in my text. Sometimes I'll do it if it's trying to match up the graphic or it makes sense or it just works. But 99% of the time, I'm either doing white text on a black t-shirt or black text on a white t-shirt. And it works. It works amazingly. Number 3, commercially available. Is that font actually allowed to be used? Are you allowed to make money using that font? Google Fonts is a great place to look for free commercial fonts that you can use. And on top of that, platforms like Kittl and Canva will have integrated fonts that you could use for your designs, which shouldn't be any problem at all. Number 4 is scalability. For this case in particular, we are trying to come up with one design that we can scale to, let's say, 100 designs. And we don't want to change much. We want to just maybe change one word. But with fonts, sometimes words look better with specific fonts. So you want to try and find a font, and I'm going to share the fonts that I use, which really work with every word. But you want to try and find a font. It won't be too big or too stretched or too fat. It will just look good no matter what the word is. Here are the 2 designs, both incredibly scalable, both sold in the thousands and thousands. The font for this t-shirt is Bebas New. This is just a simple free font that you can use from Google. The reason why I like this font is because it's really easy to read, it's simple, it's clean, and it's bold. Now, not only is it bold, it's also being stretched a little, so you can actually fit more text on one line. And the reason why that's important is because sometimes the phrases that you use on your t-shirts could be a little bit too long. And if we compare Bebas New with just a generic bold font, you can see the difference of how much text you can fit with Bebas New and how much text you can fit with this other font. You don't want to stuff it. You want it to be good readability. And you don't want to overstretch the font or squeeze it together. But this whole Bebas New font has already been stretched and squeezed to the perfect amount. So you don't have to mess with it and it just works. I'm going to show you at the end how you can use this font for immense success in 2024. The font on the other t-shirt is slightly more unique. There are actually 2 fonts there, but I'm only going to talk about the main font as the second font really isn't very important. The main font is called Hamburger Heaven. and that's the font with the big job title. And the reason why I'm only talking about that one is because that is the font that had to work with tons of different words. Think about it. The word artist is very short. The word photographer is very long. Videographer, very long. Engineer, slightly smaller. And it's got to always work. It's got to look good. And every individual character of the font has to work well. I made sure to use this font in all capitals. And I also made sure that it worked across many words. And you can see I have done over 100 different job titles using this exact same design, just changing that one word. A lot of people might think you got sales because the designs was good, the price was good, you got lucky, whatever the excuse. I wouldn't be shocked if you thought the font didn't play a part at all. But I'll tell you this, I tested so many different designs that were almost identical except for the font. And, well, the majority of them completely bombed. They completely failed. When I found this font and I incorporated it into the design, it just clicked. People saw it, people bought it. And really, it was the only differentiating factor from the other designs that I had made. Originally, I was creating what I thought looked good and what I would wear. But I wasn't realizing that I was staring at the screen for hours on end creating these designs. So, A, of course I'm going to like it, and B, I'm definitely going to be able to read it and it's going to look good because I've been staring at it for hours. But if you actually take a step back, you share it with a family or a friend or something and you ask them to read it, well, they might actually say to you, that's not very readable. That's hard to see. It's too small. It's too big. The font is bad. And that's when it kind of clicked in my head where I stopped designing for me and I started designing for the potential buyer. When I did this, I would step back after creating a design. I would step back during the process of creating a design. I would send it off to family and friends. And this whole process actually allowed me to start getting many more sales more consistently throughout my designs. When it comes to actually using these fonts, you can pick between a ton of different tools. You've got Photoshop, Illustrator, you can even upload fonts into Canva if they don't have it. You could use Kittle, or you could use Figma, Photopea, there's the GIMP, there's so many. I like using Figma. It's free, it's easy to use, and everyone can use it. When it comes to actually creating something on Figma, this is what Figma looks like. So if we go in the top left and we can see this button here, if we click that and we can just drag to create a frame. Now on the right hand side over here, we want that frame to be 4500 width by 5400. That is generally the perfect size for a t-shirt for Amazon, Etsy, Printify, Printful. There's a few differences, but generally it works perfectly. The next thing we need to do is add some text. So grab the text box over here, and then let's just search for, let's just type, grandpa, right? And now we can change that font to the font we've been talking about, Bebas New. Now we can make this bigger, we can make this smaller. So just select it, and we've got all the controls here on the right hand side. So if we say 550, a little bit bigger, and we can also just drag. So when you see the little arrow there, you can just drag, just like this. So let's say we're going to make it this big. Obviously I need to change this box size a bit to fit it all in. Right, now the next thing we need to do is do the rest of the text and maybe some graphical elements as well to kind of bring this together. So what we're going to say is we're going to say promoted to grandpa, established 2024. So let's put in another text box, promoted to, make this a little bit smaller. Now the next thing you can do is you can also flatten this, and that way it just allows you to kind of make it bigger and smaller and do really whatever you want with it. So let's just hold down on Shift, which will keep its we'll keep its dimensions, and then it's scale it down, promoted to grandpa, and then I'm going to actually make grandpa a little bit bigger. So let's just flatten grandpa. Let's flatten grandpa. That doesn't sound right. Don't flatten your grandpa. And then promoted to grandpa, and then we'll just say another bit of text. Established 2024. Okay, and again, I'll flatten this so that I can kind of move it around, make this a lot smaller. Okay, now let's add some elements to it. So for example, we can select this box over here and we can add some lines, and you can see there's the box. We can go here on the right hand side under fill and just change the color of that line to be whatever we want. So let's just say we make that over here. We option move it up, which will copy it, and then we make it a little bit smaller. So let's just drag this and make it a tiny bit smaller, and then we can do the same thing over here with the same spacing. Now let's just make sure this is centered. Yep, this is perfectly centered. We can then take those three, hold down on option again, which will copy them, and then we can right click and we can flip horizontally. There you go. Looking good. Now there's a couple of other things that we can do. For example, we can add things like footprints in, specifically baby footprints, because it goes perfectly. Now this is just an image I've taken from Google, but obviously make sure that you have the rights to your images. If I want to get rid of this background, I can click over here, and this is plugins, and I can click remove background. This is just a plugin that I've installed into Figma. And basically what I'll do is simply remove the background. Now, we can change the size of this. We can do whatever we want with this. We can put it wherever we want. We can change everything. So let's just say we're going to put that over there. Now, I'm not suggesting that you actually put this over there. I personally wouldn't. I'd probably kind of do something like this. I feel like that will look a little bit better. But basically, you can really play around with this. Or actually, no, maybe... yeah, that kind of ties the whole thing together nicely as well. Now, the beauty of this, and the beauty of this whole video, and what I'm suggesting here, is because this is such a good, easy font, all you now need to do, so this is one design, okay? All you now need to do is replace this. So, for example, let's add the text Pappy, right? And let's just flatten that so we can change the size of it. Let's drag this out, put this in, make it slightly bigger, and it works perfectly. It works really, really well, and you can change this for anything. And there are so many different ways to say grandpa. Here is a list of 100 ways to say grandpa. Now, I know some of these are a bit silly, but this is literally just for grandpa. You've also got grandma, you've got uncle, you've got every family member, and that's also just for this design. You can create 5 or 6 different types of designs promoted to, and it doesn't have to look like this. And all in all, this kind of style you can create thousands and thousands of times, and it's just incredible what you can do with a single font and a scalable design. I've got the text here, I've got the design. You can see if I just change this one word, it still works absolutely fine with this font. Now, in terms of actually coming up with designs and coming up with graphics, that's slightly more complicated, and that does require its entirely own video. This video, I just wanted to show you what it looks like to have fonts change with different words, different designs, and how it would look. If you do want a full Figma tutorial, then let me know in the comments down below, and I could hopefully try and make you one of those. And as simple as that design is, we can change the word 50, 60, 100 different times just for grandpa. Now, don't forget about grandma, because, well, there's tons of different ways to say that word as well. And then you've got dad, and you've got mum, and you've got brother, and you've got sister. That is just taking this one design that I've shown you, changing the one word, and making hundreds, if not thousands, of different designs with it. That is how you can use a font like Bebas Neue to create scalable designs. Give it a go, but don't expect sales tomorrow, because whatever person tells you that, they're lying to you. It doesn't work that fast. But stay consistent, keep trying, upload to Etsy if you can, upload to Amazon if you can. If you want to run a Shopify store and actually do ads, go for it. Give it some time, being consistent, creating scalable designs that are proven to get sales, and they will eventually start coming in. If you want to design with me as I'm actually designing and talking about how I'm creating those designs, you've got to check this video out here. I did a full unedited video where I'm just creating tons of different designs using various tools. You should check it out. You'll really like it.